Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 9th December 2016. The first article is related to demonetization. And I'm happy to see former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh's article in Hindu newspaper. Now, in the last week parliamentary discussion, Manmohan Singh has clearly stated that demonetization is mismanagement in monumental proportions. Now, in this article, he explores the objectives of demonetization and the premise on which it is based, and is demonetization is the only way forward to get these objectives. The first is the demonetization is to fight terrorism and counterfeit currency, and added to that corruption and black money in the economy. So it is based on the premise that the black money in the economy is held only in the form of cash, and every cash is the black money in the economy. Now, many of the legitimate operations in our economy, they are conducted in cash. The cash to GDP ratio is very high. So, all the black money is not in the form of cash at the same time. Now, black money takes different forms once it is generated. It may take in the form of gold, foreign currency assets, or in the form of land. So, with the demonetization effect, the worst affected are the poor people, and the people at the last of the supply chain, and the people who are dependent on the informal economy. So, in this case, in a democracy, the government has to protect the people, and the people shall have the confidence over the government. This is the basis for the legitimacy. But however, the demonetization has eroded this confidence of the people over the government. And second is, the stock and flow of the black money has to be done away with them. But however, demonetization is an attempt toward the stock of cash, not the black economy in total. And it is also not curtailing the flow of the black economy in the market. And in the last week, we saw the article that the logistical preparedness shall be there. And in a country with a digital divide, introducing the digital payments and demonetization is like placing the cart before the horse. And another thing, on the growth prospects of the economy, if you see the Jean Drey's statement, the demonetization is like firing into the tires of a speeding car. So it means the growth in the short term is going to get worst affected. And this is going to have long-term consequences as the consumer demand is going to be upset. So here in this scenario, let us understand the situation of the economy now. The private consumption is the major driver of the economy today. And private investments are poor. Public investments are again fueling the economic growth. Export growth is also on the lower front. Industrial growth is also decreasing. So here obviously the demonetization is going to affect the consumer demand and also the industrial production and the public investment, as the state governments and the government revenue is going to come down in the short run. So the long run benefits, what the government is stating, how they are practical is in question now. So whatever be the case, if you see the European Union and then Singapore, South Korea, all of them have taken the demonetization drives. But however, there is a logistical preparation before it is been done. The failure to prepare or manage the logistics is a major mismanagement of the government on the demonetization drive. The next is a reform at risk. It talks about the GST. Now, by this April, GST has to be rolled out. So there are three major problems over here. One is the administrative control of the GST. Because GST involves both the state taxes and the union taxes, who has to maintain the control of the GST? And second thing is compensation to the states. The third one has come up due to demonetization. Now, because of the demonetization, the states' revenues have come down drastically. So, in this context, the government or center is expected to show the magnanimity towards the states to get in this major reform, which is investor friendly and growth positive. And second is, the GST Council is also talking about counter profiteering agency. It means any of the trader, if he is not transferring the benefits of the GST to the customer, he can be prosecuted. Again, So the transfer of the benefits, it has to be done through incentives, not through the punishments. And giving excessive powers to the tax authorities leads to discretion and rent-seeking behavior, that is corruption from the authorities. And government shall be cautious on giving more and more authorities to the public, authorities to the officials. Europe walks a tightrope. It is about the recent developments in the Europe, in Austria and Italy. In Austria, a pro-European liberal belonging to the Green Party won the election, that is Alexander von der Bellen, against the rightist Hofer. Now, on the other hand, the pro-European liberal Prime Minister of the Italy, Matteo Renzi, he has lost the referendum on the constitutional reform in Italy. Now, one thing is very clear. The Europe is moving towards the far-right parties now. The France situation is just that way. But however, Germany is a hope to uphold the the liberal reform in the world, or liberal progressivism in the world. So, whatever be the case, the growth of the right wing is dividing the electorate. So here, the Europe, why is it showing this thing? Why the liberal progressivism is slowly taking a backseat in the Europe and America? So in the last week we have explored the reasons. One is arrogance of the liberals. So intellectual arrogance, there is no other alternative to the liberals, is the major reason. And then separation from practicality, especially after the globalization, there is a distance growing between the elite and the common people. And third thing is, the liberalism failed itself to dissociate from economic neoliberalism. And economic neoliberalism is said to be the reason for the globalization, marketization and privatization. And people started looking at it as, or started equating that with the refugee crisis which is going on, and also free market economy, and also the loss of jobs. These are the reasons why the right wing is taking a dominant seat in the Europe and the America. Now, Tamil Nadu after Jayalalitha. Let us take the unique place of the Tamil Nadu in Indian history. And if you see the anti-Hindi agitation, the Tamil Nadu was in the forefront. And anti-Brahminical movement, it was started during the Justice Party, and later it has took the shape of the Dravida parties. And regional parties and growth of the regional parties, and Tamil Nadu is on the forefront with regard to the same. So, the regional parties are said to be the reason for the development of Tamil Nadu, and also for the bargaining power of the states with the center. And at the same time, the regional parties were advantageously placed with regard to the interstate issues such as Kaveri river water dispute with Karnataka or Mullaperiyar Dam with Kerala. Now, on the other hand, national parties, they cannot afford to take the sides on the interstate disputes because the gain in one state may lead to a loss in the other state. But however, after the demise of the Chief Minister Jayalalitha, the vacuum created in Tamil Nadu, it can provide a new opportunities to the national parties. But however, they have to be cautious to stitch the pan-national agenda with the local imperatives. And the second thing, they have to be democratically organized to nurture the local leadership, and they shall be developmental in their perspective, and the development has to be inclusive, and a social engineering is necessary where the different castes and communities shall be brought together on the developmental narrative. So then only the national parties can take a central seat in the Tamil Nadu politics. Accounting for natural capital, and this can be a question under the environmental issues. Understand that the biodiversity has an economic value. It provides for the natural resources, drinking water, medicine, etc. And the second is, most of the indigenous communities, they are dependent on these biodiversity resources for their livelihood. And if you talk about the tribal people, so these are major reasons for the protection of the biodiversity, and they are today deprived of the benefits of the biodiversity. So it means that as per the convention of biodiversity, there has to be fair and equitable distribution and inclusion of all the sections of the society for the benefit of the biodiversity resources. So, when these sections are being involved with benefits of the biodiversity resources, then conservation also becomes effective. But however, in the name of the development, the biodiversity is getting depleted. So agricultural activities, marine activities, everything is responsible for deprivation of biodiversity. And you all know that biodiversity is species diversity, genetic diversity, ecosystem diversity. More you protect that, more is the benefit. And India is a biodiversity hotspot, as two biodiversity hotspots, and it is one among the 16 major biodiversity regions in the world. So India can have definite value if it can stitch its development to the biodiversity goals to make it sustainable development. That is what this article talks about. Remember the point. The biodiversity need to be stitched to the development to make it sustainable. Now, coming to the news, the President of India has clearly stated that the Parliament job is to transact the business, not to get disrupted. And if the Parliament is being disrupted like this, it will lose its legitimacy and respect from the people. And he has warned the country to take forward or respect the institutions of democracy. And in the last week, if you see, the former Deputy Prime Minister L.K. Advani has warned the country, and he has expressed his dissatisfaction how the Parliament is being managed now. And then India-US talk about defense partnership. Now, when during the term of Ashton Carter as the Defense Secretary of US, the relations between India and US got deepened, and India has become the major defense partner in which the status is equivalent to US and its allies with regard to the defense exports to India. And defense and trade and technology initiative is also a reason for the growth of relationship. And India and US has signed logistics exchange memorandum of agreement during the Carter's tenure. So the US-India defense ties, they are bipartisan. Whoever comes into power, it is expected that the relations will go further and further. And coming to the FCRA, FCRA stands for Foreign Contributions Regulation Act. Now, under this, any NGO has to register with the government to get the foreign loans. But it has been criticized that government is more and more using FCRA to curtail the functioning of the NGOs. So, the lawyers collective of Indira Jaising, it is being deregistered from FCRA. It means it cannot get any foreign loans. So, the government is using or curtailing the civil society's voice by choking their funds, which are essential for their functioning. This is also the case with regard to the Compassion International, which America is questioning why the government has stalled the funds to this Compassion International. And the government cites the conversion of the religious conversions as a reason. Now it has been asked, the US is asking the government to show the proofs for the same. So let us see and wait how it unfolds. Now, let's get into the editorial page of Indian Express. The crossing the chasm. Now, the government is moving towards the cashless economy. So, in this case, the author argues that the e-payments or digital payments, they have to be as simple as possible for the people to adopt. And the second, the competition and innovation can ensure a better regulation and better management of the cashless transactions. And the third thing, any cashless transaction shall be achieved through incentives, not through deprivation of the choices to the people. Today, non-functional ATMs are rewarding with 2000 rupees notes without sufficient change. It is more like making or forcing the people to shift to the digital economy by depriving of their choices. So in this case, the government has brought in certain discounts for the people using the digital mode of payments. It is more an incentive approach. Now government is using a carrot and stick to make the people to move towards digital payments. Now let us see the questions. Now today I have posed certain questions. After listening to this video, think over these questions and try to write yourself 1 or 2 sentences so that simply we can take forward into our answer writing level. So, it means after reading the article, because articles are very plain today, there is no complex English or complex understanding in these articles. So, first read the articles and try to answer these questions which are been given over here. And at the end, there is a question placed to you and try to answer after listening to the class. So the first one is Manmohan Singh's article. What are the effects of demonetization? It has growth is can come down, and added to that, the people in the informal economy is going to get worst affected, and it is criminalizing every individual who is legitimately involved in cash transactions. And reform at risk. The GST has to address three major challenges states are posing for, that is administrative control and compensation for the loss of revenue, and finally with regard to the demonetization. And Europe goes through a tightrope. So the pro-Euro, there is a divide which is going on in Europe, where the right wing and left wing and the centrists, all these have divided the people. And accounting for a natural capital, the biodiversity integration with development is necessary to make it sustainable. Tamil Nadu after Jayalalitha, national parties can use the vacuum, but it only be possible with making their agenda inclusive and serving all the sections of the society. And the editorial Going Digital in Indian Express, it says that a competition and innovation are the ways forward for making the country towards cashless transactions. This is the essence of these articles. And these notes will be posted to you in laix.in/civilsprep. Thank you very much and all the best.